is a simple choice. If Biden wins, China wins, all these other countries win, we get ripped off by everybody. If we win, you win, Pennsylvania wins, and America wins. Very simple. For years, the selfish and corrupt political class betrayed the people of Pennsylvania, you know that, and the people of our country. Career politicians like Joe Biden lied to you. I don't think he knew he was even lying. You want to know the truth? He's gone. He's shot, folks. I hate to tell you, he's shot. He abused you, he crushed you, your dreams, and outsourced your jobs to China and distant lands all over the world. As a Senator, Biden's last American trade policies were a total disaster. They dismantled your steel industry and decimated entire towns in your area. And we brought back steel. And we put tariffs on steel. And we stopped dumping steel and aluminum. As vice president, he closed down 10,000 factories while raking in cash from corporations that moved jobs overseas. And his family got rich. You know that. Biden's a servant of the radical globalists, the wealthy donors, the big money special interests who shipped away your jobs, shut down your factories, and you know it because you really suffered right in this area, threw open your borders and ravaged our cities while sacrificing American blood and treasure in these ridiculous, endless foreign wars. They're all coming back home. Don't worry, they're all coming back home soon. They're already on their way. They've been on their way for a long time. In 2016, Pennsylvania voted to fire this failed and decrepit political establishment, and you elected an outsider as your president to finally put America first. That's what we did. I'm running against the single worst candidate in the history of presidential politics, and you know what that does? That puts more pressure on me. Can you imagine if you lose to a guy like this? It's unbelievable. It's disgusting. It's disgraceful. Did you see the World Health Organization yesterday? They said Trump was right. They said you can't make the cure worse than the problem itself. I've been saying that for a long time. And we did the right thing. We saved 2 million lives. They said 2.2 million people. We saved 2 million lives. And, we get nothing. And I'll tell you what, we have... The vaccines are coming soon, the therapeutics, and frankly, the cure. All I know is I took something, whatever the hell it was, I felt good very quickly. I don't know what it was. Antibodies. I don't know. I took it, I said, I felt like Superman. I said, let me at him. No, and I could have been here 4 or 5 days ago. It's great. We had great doctors. I want to thank the doctors at Walter Reed and Johns Hopkins. Great doctors. One great thing about being president, if you're not feeling 100%, you have more doctors than you thought existed in the world. I was surrounded with like 14 of them. Where are you from? I'm from this one. Where are you from? I'm from Johns Hopkins. I'm from Walter Reed. But what great talented people. They did a great job. And thank you. And while I'm president, America will remain the world's #1 energy producer with Pennsylvania workers leading the way, and that's what's happening. You're leading the way. Biden will eliminate my tariffs on China. He's already said he's going to take the tariffs off China. There goes your steel industry. There goes your aluminum industry. There goes everything. Allowing them to plunder without consequence. The one constant in Biden's platform is surrender. He surrenders. He surrenders, whether it's China, whether it's Cuba. How about Cuba? How about the deal they made with Cuba? How bad was that one? I ended it. That's why both China and the far left are desperate for a Biden win, because he will surrender our jobs to China. China will own the United States if that sleepy guy gets the position, okay? And you can forget about Pennsylvania.
Juliana Giacomini is on a lung transplant waiting list. She has an autoimmune disease attacking her respiratory system. The coronavirus, already dangerous for a patient in her condition, became even more of a reason for her anguish because of a dramatic drop in organ transplant procedures over the last few months.
A gente paciente, a gente acompanha, né, a lista, né?
As a patient, I follow daily the queue for organ transplants, because sometime you get to see your name move up in the list. But with the pandemic, it clearly stopped moving up. It's sad because it takes away your hope, and that's what keeps us going.
According to the Brazilian Association of Organ Transplants, such procedures dropped by 61% between April and June this year compared to 2019. The death rate among people on the official waiting list for organs grew more than 44% in the same period.
Mas isso não foi homogêneo.
There were deep differences in this according to the region of the country, as it happened with the pandemic itself. And we noticed that the worse the curve of the pandemic was, the harder it was to harvest organs. Communication with the patients who needed the organs and the family of the donors became more difficult.
There are a number of factors behind the drop in transplant procedures, among them organs infected with the coronavirus, hospital postponements of medical procedures, and even logistical difficulties caused by the reduction of airline flights. The challenge now is to get these life-saving surgeries back on track.
In an effort to make up for the slowdown, the government boosted its yearly organ donation campaign, this year called Donate Organs, Life Needs to Go On. The medical coordinator of the organ transplant program at São Paulo's Albert Einstein Hospital hopes that practices developed during the pandemic will help boost organ transplants in the long term.
A forma de comunicação entre as instituições e entre os médicos.
The communication between doctors and hospitals improved with the development of telemedicine, and the possibilities of examining patients remotely also increased. So candidates who need organs and needed to travel to a different state to have a first assessment may benefit from telemedicine technology at the beginning of the process.
Before the COVID-19 pandemic, organ donations in Brazil had been increasing slowly for a few years. Doctors hope that COVID-19 won't be but a brief interruption for those who are on the organ waiting list. Paulo Cabral, CGTN, São Paulo.
The IMF's International Monetary and Financial Committee says it will use all the tools at its disposal to restore jobs, confidence and growth around the world. It also said making COVID-19 vaccines and treatments available to all countries is the key to overcoming the pandemic and, by extension, helping economies to recover. The IMF published its latest World Economic Outlook earlier this week, forecasting the global economy will contract by 4.4% in 2020. It was a slightly improved forecast compared to its last one in June, but the IMF's managing director called on governments not to lose their nerve as the crisis drags on.
Stepping up vital health measures is an imperative, as is well-targeted fiscal and monetary support to households and to firms. So the IMF message from these meetings is very clear. Avoid premature withdrawal of support. Pulling the plug too soon risks serious self-inflicted harm.
The IMF says China will be the only major economy in the world to achieve growth this year. Its economists also found that advanced economies are coping with the global recession triggered by COVID-19 better than developing ones. There's some relief for those countries in the short term, with the G20 nations this week extending debt relief on $14 billion of payments for another 6 months. But the IMF says the coronavirus pandemic could still lead to higher levels of poverty and inequality across the world. Giles Gibson for CGTN in Washington.